Okay, well, it's my distinct pleasure today to introduce CEO and founder Lin Hwang from DamoGO, right? I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Yep.
But it's a great pleasure because Lin's startup is one of the most successful startups in Korea right now as far as foreign startups are concerned. Remember, we're starting to study, at least in the trade English, we're studying startups and the problems with how foreigners are having with their startup here in the Korean startup ecosystem. But Lin has defied all odds, right? According to most people here in Korea, his foreign startup is performing the best right now. So I said what value proposition is. So he is solving a problem right now with food waste. So I don't want to talk too much into it because he's going to describe it, but he's definitely what we call an impact person and a social entrepreneur. And like I said, with social entrepreneurism, you're trying to solve a societal problem, but also trying to earn a profit at the same time. So without further ado, I would like to present Mr. Lin Hwang.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Okay, thank you for having me. Again, my name is Lin Hwang, and I am co-founder and CEO of DamoGO. I am Korean American, born and raised in the States, and I've been in Korea for 5 years. Basically, we launched DamoGO. Well, we incorporated 3 years ago. We launched it last year. It's been less than a year since we tested and launched it. And to really explain what we do, let me ask you guys a question. Everyone here has been to a restaurant, a bakery, or a grocery store, right? Have you ever wondered what happens to the perfectly good, untouched, unsold food at the end of the day at these places? I'm sure you've been to a bakery near closing time, and you probably noticed that there's still perfectly good bread still left on the shelves. And maybe you wonder what happens to this food. Well, unfortunately, this food, if not sold, ends up going to waste in the garbage bin. Just like here in this slide, you can see places like convenience stores, grocery stores, bakeries, buffet restaurants, KFC here in Korea after 9 p.m. does a 1+1 or buy one, get one free because they already fried up all this chicken and it's on the shelves. And if they don't sell it, they end up throwing it away. So it's a huge waste and it's a huge problem, not just here in Korea, but all over the world. So these are facts for Indonesia because we're actually preparing to launch in Indonesia now, which is our main market. Korea is just a starting point for us and kind of a beta test bed for us. In Indonesia, which is the fourth largest country in the world, Indonesia throws away enough food every single day to feed 71 million people in the world every single day. This is food that's untouched and uneaten. This is not food that's been on your plate. This is untouched food that's going to waste. Actually, the startling fact is that 1/3 of all the food produced in this world is going to waste. 1/3 of all the food produced in this world is going in the garbage, and it's never touched, and it's never eaten. This food that goes to waste, it's millions of tons of food that's worth billions of dollars that's going down the drain. So, what are we doing to figure this out? Well, actually first, just to give you an idea of where food waste comes from, and this is only at the restaurant level. There's a lot of waste at the household level, at the distribution level, at the production level, but just at the restaurant level, 21% of the food waste is unsold food that we just showed you. 45% is on food prep. So this is ingredients or sliced tomatoes or bread that for sandwich shops that just goes to waste. And then the 34% is food from customer plates that's eaten but not eaten all, and it goes into the waste. This could actually be turned into feed, or Korea is one of the best in the world at managing this. About 97 or 98% of this food gets processed, and us here in Korea, one of the best in the world. Unfortunately, other places like the US, this food ends up in landfills. When this food ends up in landfills and when it rots, it's actually creating methane gas. And methane gas is one of the most harmful greenhouse gases in the world. Actually, If food waste were a country, it would be the third largest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world. And that's behind the US and China. That's how much greenhouse gases food waste is creating. And it's not only a waste, but it's actually making major harm to the environment and with greenhouse gas emissions. And luckily here in Korea, that doesn't happen, but other places, almost all other places in the world, this is happening. So, what are we doing? We have a mobile app. We have a mobile app that helps alleviate this problem. Basically, what we do is we partner with any of these restaurants or grocery stores or any kind of stores that have food that's going unsold. We partner with them, and they upload it to our app. They upload it to our app, and any user, just like yourselves, you can be on our app, and you can see this food on our app on the same day. It's all same-day food. It's not old food. This food is on our app, and you can purchase it for half price. So there's huge value economically, and there's huge value social and environmentally, because you're actually doing your part in reducing food waste. So this food is, you can search for this food by location, or you could, we have a map, you can see what's around you, or you can follow your favorite stores, and when you follow your favorite stores, you can get immediate notifications anytime a new item's uploaded. So when a new a sandwich that goes unsold from a grab-and-go place, when it's uploaded, you can see it right away, you can get notifications, you can purchase it right away, and then you go pick it up during the store's pickup time. Every store has their own pickup times. It could be half an hour, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours. Basically, it's pickup only now. We plan on implementing delivery, but you can follow stores around you, where you live, around where you work, and you can get these notifications. So basically, about 60% to 65% of the food is after 8 p.m. when most places know what's available, what's quote unquote surplus food. We don't call it leftover food within our company because of the negative connotation. We call it surplus or excess food. But about 30% is throughout the day, because you have restaurants and buffets that do a breakfast buffet or a lunch buffet that can get uploaded. Also, canceled delivery orders, because there's a lot of delivery orders here in Korea, but many get canceled and that food ends up going to waste. Or mistake orders. You've been to a restaurant where you order a dish and they make the wrong dish. And when they make the wrong dish, they end up usually throwing it away. So these items can get uploaded immediately, and it's half price, and it's still of value to the store owners because they're making extra money on something that they would have thrown away. And not only are they throwing it away, they are also increasing their food waste costs if they throw it away, because they have to pay to remove this food and to manage this food waste. Especially here in Korea, you have to pay by weight of what you have in food waste. So they're saving money on food waste. Also, they strengthen their brand image because now they're actively trying to do something to reduce their food waste. They get new customers and they get access to new customers. So it's a huge win-win situation. And even at the city and government level, it's a huge win because the reduced food waste is a reduction in the food waste management costs for the city. And we're talking tens of millions of dollars annually. It's not little money. And of course, this food waste is helping the environment. And we are a social impact food waste reduction company first. Discounts are a secondary benefit for us. So basically, any place that has food can upload food on our app and partner with us. Again, this is untouched, perfectly good food. It's really easy and quick to upload, and users can easily discover what we have. Us as a company, we actually, just to give you a bit of my background, I've been in the food industry for 13 years, and I've been an entrepreneur in the food industry for 13 years. I've worked and been an entrepreneur at all levels. I started in food manufacturing, food processing. My father and I owned a couple of seafood processing facilities in the United States, in Maryland and in New Orleans. I'm originally from the New York area. So we did that, and we did local distribution, regional distribution, and import-export of food. So I worked in distribution as well. And then I worked at the restaurant retail level, where I imported a major American franchise here to Korea called the Halal Guys. So if you guys know that brand, it's a New York brand. I brought the franchise here. So I have a full understanding of the entire food industry from top to bottom, and I've seen a lot of waste. I've always been socially and environmentally conscious, and I've seen a lot of waste, and I've been a Unfortunately, I've created waste myself, even though I didn't want to. For example, working at the manufacturing level, we have tons of frozen seafood that's perfectly good, but the market price is too low. No one wants to buy it. We need space in the freezer, and it's too difficult to donate this because no small charity is going to take 10 tons of frozen seafood. So unfortunately, we had to pay money to throw it away. This is happening all across the world at manufacturing, small-scale manufacturing and large-scale manufacturing. I've seen it. I've been a part of it, and it's also happening in distribution and, of course, at the restaurant level. So I've always had interest in reducing waste. I met my co-founder, who was a Korea University student. We're actually 17 years apart. He's a lot younger than I am. And he, at Korea University, he saw a lot of waste. He wanted to do something about it. He's from Indonesia. He found out Indonesia was number 2 in the world in food waste. And he was embarrassed about it and wanted to do something with it. He ended up meeting me while I was importing more restaurant franchises to Korea. And he came up with the idea. I helped him develop it, and I thought it was a really great idea. So I jumped in with them and became full-time, and that's how DamoGO was formed. So in any case, basically, I was talking about the store propositions and the user value propositions. We talked about additional revenue streams. This is, it's pretty much net profit because this, again, is food that's already made and is going to get thrown away. So it's anything extra is just bottom line net profit. So stores can make as much as $1,000 net profit a month, and $1,000 net profit for a restaurant, especially small restaurants, is a lot. So it's actually a lot more than people think. Again, it's free marketing because get new customers, and of course they're saving money. We talked about the minimum 50% discount, so it's a huge value proposition to the users and customers, and of course you're doing good while you're eating. And our business model is that every transaction and purchase happens right on our app, and we keep 25% of everything. And just on a side note, our company is called DamoGO. In Korean, it's pronounced DamoGO. So it's pretty much DamoGO, eat it all, but we've westernized it and made it quote unquote cuter. And it's also Damo, like pack, and go. So it's 2 meanings that's very relevant to what we're trying to do. And our app is available right now in Korea and in Indonesia. So the addressable market. We have the total addressable market for these countries that we plan on entering. Again, we started here in Korea last year in May. We tested it out. We try to scale it, and this is one of the things I'll discuss a little bit later. Is we changing our strategy. We're going to scale it here. We're going to start here, raise money, our first seed investment round, scale it here, and then enter Southeast Asia by Indonesia first. Southeast Asia is our main country. What we recently decided was not to scale here. I'll go through that a little bit later and the reasons why, which might be interesting for you guys. So we started here in Korea. We'll be going to Indonesia very soon. We're making preparations, and then we'll go into Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam. We also have Philippines in mind in the near future. This is the total addressable market, which is a total market of unsold food that's going to waste. Obviously, we can't get this all. The total addressable market is kind of the real market that we can probably look at and we can get a piece of, so which is also very big. This is kind of the goal for us. Here is our total serviceable, attainable market, which is what we truly think we can obtain, and this is within 2 years. So our first year, we plan on doing maybe about close to $500,000 in revenue. Next year, we're looking at $2 million, and then from there, we're going to scale it to a lot bigger, into the multi-millions. So you can see the number of food stores, and Indonesia is one of the perfect markets for us because, well, they also have more than 270 million people. They're the 4th largest country by population in the world, and it's a blue ocean for us. So just to go over some tractions and metrics that we had in Korea. Again, we use this as a test bed. We've had small numbers, but significant numbers. We've had about, in 3 months of really trying to do this, we had 250 transactions. The most important number is that more than half of the users that made a purchase made a secondary purchase. So that was very exciting for us. Even 12.5% of the users actually made more than 7 purchases. So this is all without any marketing. We didn't have any money for marketing. We tried to find some unique ways to do marketing, which worked, and now in Indonesia we're putting all our focus there. So just to give you some traction and metrics for what we've done in Indonesia. So again, we're preparing to go to Indonesia. We've been preparing for 2 months. We'll probably start pilot testing or beta testing in about 2 or 3 weeks. And pre-pilot test, we've gotten some major traction. In Korea, we got about 90 partners, restaurant partners and grocery store partners in 3 months. In Indonesia, in less than 2 months, we got over 700 partners that have committed with us. We're also, one of those partners is the largest convenience store chain in the country that has over 18,000 units. We've become a part of the Ministry of Communication and Information Startup Portfolio. We're part of Jakarta Smart City. We're officially part of the Jakarta Smart City project, so we'll be working with the city to reduce food waste there. And we got accepted into the country's first food startup accelerator that is co-run by one of the country's largest food conglomerates. And this is due to our team and network. One of the most important things of a startup is the team, and it cannot be overlooked, and the network. And for a network, my co-founder and I are very good networkers. We get ourselves out there and we network our butts off. And you know, that person you meet tomorrow could be an asset a year from now, and you keep that person, that contact person. So we've done that. We're never afraid to cold message people on LinkedIn or cold message people on Instagram, no matter how high level they are. We've actually, one of our mentors is the Forbes Indonesia fourth richest family. That was through a cold direct message on Instagram. And don't be afraid to do that, because sometimes you won't get responses, but you'll be surprised. Sometimes you will get responses if you send the right message. So we're very good at that. And if anyone is ever interested in a startup, if you're not a good networker, I suggest finding someone, a co-founder that is, because that's going to be a huge part of the startup growth and startup network expansion. So one unique thing we're doing is we're also making a platform where neighbors can share any resources together. So how this came about, this actually happened in the last week for us. So this is due to the coronavirus. We're pilot testing Indonesia. What we noticed was that just doing our research, we keep up with the trends, we keep up with research on waste, and we were trying to figure out how the coronavirus would affect and impact our launch there, and how it might negatively impact us. So we're also trying to figure out how can we take advantage of the coronavirus situation. We noticed that just research and reading articles, we noticed that not just in Indonesia, but Australia and other countries, because of the coronavirus, people are trying to share their resources with their neighbors, extra resources. So, for example, in Australia, people were hoarding toilet paper. Some people had extra toilet paper they wanted to share with their neighbors. So there was no platform to do this, so they made Facebook groups. This is happening now. This is happening in Indonesia, making Facebook groups and trying to share extra food, extra resources. We got to thinking, hold on a second, we actually have something, we're about to pilot test. We can make a little changes to it, and we can actually allow people to use our app as a tool to start sharing resources during the coronavirus time. So we talked to our developers, we have 2 full-time developers in-house, and asked how long this would take and if we can do this quickly. And they said we could. A few changes would take about 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. And we thought, hey, you know what, this could be huge. We will, instead of pilot testing, or before pilot testing, we will announce that we'll freely let anyone freely use our app to start sharing their resources. And not only is this a good thing where people can start really using an app to make it efficient to share resources, but as a marketing tool, it's huge for us. So if this takes off, and when we're done with our pilot test for our B2C, right, our B2C model, our business to consumer model, business customer model, when we're finished with our regular app, testing that, we'll already have all these users already within our app. And then we can easily convert them to becoming, to making purchases and on our app and us making revenue. So there's those 2 good things that come out of it, and this is what we're looking to do. So basically, neighbors can share their extra resources, right? So we connect, what we're going to do is we're going to connect neighbors with each other. So currently we have 2 versions of our app. We have the store or our partner vendor version, and then we have the regular user version. The store version is the one that registers with us and they upload items. So what we're going to do is we're making little changes where we're going to make the store version available to anyone, and they can start uploading anything that they want to give away to neighbors. And then as a user, you get notifications, you can see what's around you, you can select it, you can start messaging directly on WhatsApp or text message, and they can connect and pick a time to meet and share these resources. So we're actually talking to Jakarta, City of Jakarta, because of Jakarta Smart City Project, another big city in Indonesia. And we're in talks with them right now. And if the talks go well, and if they, we're promoting this, and they will promote it to all their citizens, and which is millions of people that can see this. So it could be huge for us. So again, long story, just the thing to learn from this is even in times of crisis, there's ways to figure things out, or there's possible opportunities. So think of opportunities even during times of crisis. This is our projected growth. Initially, we projected to have 1,500 vendor partners by the end of the year. We already have 700, more than 700, so we think we're going to way surpass that. And then these are our expansion plans and our revenue plans. These are actually very conservative numbers, and we think we can really match these and hit these targets. This is our team. Again, I told you a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in the States. And my co-founder is Faras. Again, he's from Indonesia, and he lived in Korea for 7 years, just moved back there to head our pilot testing over there. He went to Korea University. He's been in the startup game now for 3 years here in Korea. We've both won a lot of awards and got a lot of recognition. And he has just become an Ashoka changemaker for Asia. If you don't know Ashoka, it's one of the largest and most important young entrepreneur changemaker groups in the world. And it's not easy to get into. He got accepted last year. He was also invited to be part of one of former President, U.S. President Obama's changemakers last year. He couldn't go, but he got the invitation. He's definitely going to go this year if he gets invited. We have a fractional CTO. A fractional CTO is kind of a part-time CTO. He has over 30 years experience in programs, so he's a huge asset to us. We have 2 full-time, full-stack developers and 1 that's newly joining us now. And we have a small team in Indonesia, a social media manager, and a graphic designer who's helping out our co-founder, Faras. We have really good advisors. We've made a really good team of advisors. We have Mr. Umar Hadi, who is the Indonesian ambassador to Korea. He's very well connected in Indonesia, giving us really good connections. We have BKPM is the primary interface between business and government in Indonesia. They have offices all over the world to help with investment into Indonesia from those cities and countries. So the head of BKPM Seoul is one of our advisors, as well as someone from BKPM Jakarta. And they're obviously very well connected in business and government and giving us the right contacts. Another huge advisor for us is Aku, who is from Finland. He is COO of Rescue Club. Rescue Club, our app is not the first of its kind. There's similar ones in Europe, especially. They're huge in Europe. There's 3 that are very, very large and very successful and profitable. Aku is with Rescue Club. Rescue Club is the 3rd largest, and they're in 4 or 5 countries. Obviously, it's been around for 5 years. He's been there, done everything that we're going through now, so he's given us really useful advice. And he's one of our advisors. And again, going back to networking, that all happened because I was here in Seoul at an event where I gave a presentation, and during the networking hour, somebody from Finland that is a student here said that his good friend is Aku, and he gave me an introduction. Aku was nice enough to start giving us some free advice, and then we formally offered him to become an advisor for us. This is just some of the media attention we've got. We've got a lot in Indonesia and here in Korea. Again, another thing is I would pitch as much as possible, go to networking events as much as possible, give presentations as much as possible like this if you ever get invited to do so, or just proactively go to events. Go to as many events as possible and just start networking, because you're going to meet a lot of people, especially if you have an interesting product. people are going to want to know about it, and they will remember you, and they will reach out to you. So we've gotten a lot of media attention that way, not just because we have good product, but it's really because we put ourselves out there, and people start knowing about us. Okay, come on. Okay, there you go. Here's our competitive analysis. Again, here we're at the top. We have Karma. We have Karma, Too Good To Go. Karma, Too Good To Go. Too Good To Go is the biggest in the world. Karma second biggest. Restaurant Club is third. These two just recently raised their Series A investment round, and they're in more than 15 countries, and one of them is more than in 15 countries. And then we have a last order, which is our main competitor here in Korea. This is just showing you some of the differences. As you can see, these three are already profitable, and the money that they raised. We've now been almost 3/4 of a year, about a year since we've been in service. We've initially raised money. Our first round of investment raise we raised was from family and friends. We raised from family and friends. I only raise from family and friends that I know can afford to lose that money. So not somebody that's going to take out their retirement fund and give it to you, but somebody that can afford to lose that money, because it's also a dangerous situation, because if you do fail and lose that money with some family and friends, it could cause some personal problems and a rift between. So we only look to get investments from family and friends that are able to lose that money and not be too worried about it. So we raised family and friends 150 million won. We also got a low interest startup loan here in Korea, and now we're right now in the middle of trying to raise our seed investment round of $750,000, our first institutional round. Institutional being not individual people, but actually venture capital or angel investment groups. This is just a quick summary of how we're going to get there. Again, one of the main things we have is we have the experience here, and we have our team. Our team is one of the things that when we talk to investors, they're very impressed about. Is one of the things that they're willing to look at us and willing to possibly give us investment is because of our experience, of my experience in the food industry, of my contacts, and of our team's contacts and my co-founder's contacts in Indonesia. That's really getting us out there. Indonesia, we have contacts with big owners of big restaurant, big malls, big restaurant chains, founders of large corporations, government level, private sector, public sector, government level. We have really good connections, and it's a lot easier for us to get these connections in Indonesia than it is here, which is one of the other reasons we're looking at Indonesia. So our background, our experience here in Korea doing this startup is really helping us, and our vision. Our vision is really to become the ultimate food waste, or not just food waste, but waste reduction platform in at least Asia or APAC. We're starting here at the BTC level with restaurants and bakeries, but we have a B2B model that we're starting to implement, because at factories, at processing, at distribution, they're throwing away a lot of food that's overstock and they can't sell. So they're doing this all the time, and we're talking about tons and tons and tons of food for one company in a week. And this food it's a shame that this food's going to waste, because when you're talking about food waste, you're not just wasting that one item. So if you're buying 3 apples and you have 1 apple that's sitting in the fridge and it's going to waste, you're not just wasting the money that went into the apple, but you're actually wasting every single resource that went into growing that apple. And we're talking about the water that went into it, the labor that went into it, the packaging that went into it, the electricity. You're wasting a ton of money that shouldn't be wasted. So you really need to think twice before you do waste, not just food, but anything. So that's what we're trying to do, is actually reduce waste of not just food, but also cosmetics, medicine, over-the-counter medicine. Those things have a shelf life. They need to be sold. So we'll be creating a platform to do so. So we have plans for the B2B level. Again, we have our P2P or peer-to-peer that we talked about, the neighbor sharing. We're actually going to develop that into a full part of our app as a complement, so people can share. We probably can't monetize that right away because it's just free sharing, but I'm almost certain we have a way to monetize it in the future. And then we also have B2G, business to government, because now we have a network and connections with the government. We'll be doing projects with the government. And we'll do this across all levels of the food industry and any other industry that makes products that we can reduce from going to waste. So we plan on being the ultimate waste reduction company in Southeast Asia, if not just Southeast Asia, hopefully the world. So that is our vision. This is just some of the things that we're doing. I talked about a lot of these things. Another thing we have is, we have some influential influencers in Indonesia. That's social influencers, environmental influencers. That's really likes what we're doing, and some of them have agreed to be our brand ambassadors. Some of these people have over 1 million followers on Instagram in Indonesia, so it's huge for us for marketing. So we're really excited about that. Well, this is kind of the end of the slide. We have an appendix. The appendix, this is just kind of our company structure. This is one of the things that's given us a huge headache. I don't know if you guys may fall into something like this. We initially incorporated here in Korea, and we had investors invest into our Korean company, and then we opened a corporation in Indonesia. The venture capital firms and some investors were asking us what kind of structure or where this investment would go. And we had some trouble trying to figure this out, and we ended up realizing and just talking to advisors is that we need to create a holding company in Singapore. And Singapore is one of the easiest places to do business, and for startups as well. If you're looking to be global, especially in Asia, probably Singapore is the way to incorporate a holding company or the main company, and then have subsidiary companies. So this is what we're going to do, and the investment will be going into Singapore for our seed investment raise and in the future. So just think about Singapore if you guys are looking to expand across Asia. If you're just going to be in Korea, if you're just going to be in Korea, then it probably makes sense maybe just to have a Korean company. But some of these investors might be a little nervous to just go into Korea because it's a little complex, the banking structure. So you might even want to have a Singapore holding company when that investment goes to Singapore, because money can very easily go into Singapore. These are just some of the brands we have for pilot tests. Some are major brands. Halal Guys, if you guys know Halal Guys, the owner's a good friend of mine, but we have some major Indonesian brands that's part of our pre-pilot. So they committed to us. One of the things, a sip of water. I actually want to talk a little about our initial strategy and why we kind of changed our strategy or pivoted our strategy a little bit. Again, like I mentioned before, our initial plan, our ultimate goal was Southeast Asia because of the big market and it's a growing market. And Indonesia obviously would be the first place because of my co-founder and because it's the 4th largest country in the world. And for us to get there, we want to start here because my co-founder Faris and I were here. I had a wealth of contacts in the food industry here. So it was to start here, grow, raise money, scale it here, grow fast here, and then enter Indonesia, and then raise money again and scale it there. That was the initial plan. We noticed some things and we realized some things as we were in operations here for the last 6-7 months. One of the things being, we knew Korea would be a tough market. We knew there was a lot of food apps, but we didn't really consider all food apps as direct competitors. We considered them as indirect competitors. But now we consider food apps, any food app, as a direct competitor, even though they're not doing what we're doing. And the reason being is because, well, first of all, when we talk to store owners and we try to onboard them, get them to be part of our app, when we explain our services, even though our services are a huge win for everyone, and it's perfectly good, it's great for the stores, because of the landscape of Korea and the overabundance of food apps, and because of the attitudes here, and personal attitudes here in Korea, the first thing they think of when we talk to store owners is another food app, and another food app to take our money. And this is because there's so many food apps here, and all these food apps are starting to charge high commissions. So now they have this bad image of food apps. In the beginning, when they were the first delivery companies started here, Baemin and Yogyo, Stores loved it because they're making extra revenue. But now it's just oversaturated. So even though stores do see the value in us and we do partner with them, another thing is the managers and the owners, the POS or point of sale system and the register, there's so many food apps that they have to manage. And we just get lost in there. So all these food apps, even though they don't do what we do, they are direct competitors because we're competing for that space in the owners' minds and on that register. So my co-founder and I, we said, hey, is it worth raising money, scaling here? And we're getting all these love calls and all this attraction from Indonesia. And we said, hey, let's think where we're going to be a year from now. So we said, okay, we raised money. Maybe we raised $500,000, $750,000. Most of it's going to go to marketing because we need to make ourselves stand out. Probably 3/4 of that going to go to marketing. All right, we spend that on marketing and we gain some market share. We gain a little market share of an overall small and competitive food market, the food app market. And then we said, wait, this money would go much longer in Indonesia where the cost of living is lower, salaries are lower, and there's no competitors. And we said, why are we going to scale it here? So we made the decision in December, this past December, okay, we're not scaling Korea. We'll be here, let it grow organically, and maybe it'll take off. If it doesn't matter because it's not our main market. So we decided to pull all our efforts into Indonesia. And the reason why we got 700 plus stores in less than 2 months was in Indonesia, we were getting interest, but my co-founder went there after we made the decision in December. He goes there, he starts talking to store owners. It's completely different, it's night and day. Store owners said, oh my God, this is amazing. We make extra money, we get extra customers, I want in. And all across the board, that's their reaction because there's only 2 main food apps. And we're not, as of yet, we're not competing with them directly for the space. 2 years from now, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, I'm sure it'll be closer to what it is in Korea, but we're in that market in the beginning, and it's a huge open market. The middle class is growing very quickly there. The average age is a lot younger than it is in Korea. So it just made perfect sense for us. So I don't know if you guys can take something away from this story or our experiences. And again, you guys can email me with any questions. Again, here's my email address. I'd be happy to answer them. So I am super busy, but I will get back to anybody that emails me and give any advice or tips. So that's pretty much it. I have a lot more I can talk about, but I know time's limited. And I know there's a professor has some questions for me, which I will gladly answer.
Right. So we're studying about the Korean startup ecosystem now. I just want to know some of the other challenges that startups have here in Korea. If you could answer that.
Sure. And so I'll be talking as not a foreign startup, but just as a startup in general for this question. Well, one of the things is it's so saturated now. Now everyone's trying to do a startup. One of the good things is that there's a lot of resources out there, a lot of grants out there, a lot of funding out there, from especially government funding to help out. Right. But another thing is now everybody is trying to do a startup. So that idea you have, likely somebody's working on it or it's already there. And that's another thing is actually with the idea thing. There's a lot of people that a product comes out, an innovative product, and then somebody says, "Man, I thought of that 2 years ago. Man, I should have done that 2 years ago." But you know what? I don't care, and nobody else should care because you're not the only one with that idea. You know, more than likely, 99% of the time, the idea you have, somebody has it, and somebody's thought about it. It's just who has the guts to do it and who has the resources to do it. So if you do have an idea, I don't want you to sit there and say, I had this idea, oh, I had this idea. Like, if you have an idea and you truly believe in it, go and do it. And it's not easy to do, but just if you really believe in it, go and do it, because an idea is just an idea. It means nothing unless you actually have start developing and doing it. But back to your question, one of the challenges is that now it's here in Korea, everyone is able to do a startup. There's resources out there, so it is a lot more difficult. The market is, I don't want to say it's small, but there's much bigger markets out there. But it is a significant market. But there's companies like Paymin that, that are unicorns just being here in Korea. So there's still room, but it's a lot tougher than it was. Again, I've only been in the startup scene for 3 or 4 years. I'm not an expert, but I've learned a lot and I've studied a lot. And I have an entrepreneur background, although it's not a tech scalable startup, but I have this wealth of experience. And 3, 4 years ago, it was easy to do a startup because not that many people were getting into it. But now you have a lot of competition. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges is that. Another challenge is there is a lot of mentors, right? There's a lot of mentors, but now these days, that a lot of people just have that mentor tag. So you really have to kind of, find the real good mentors that will really help you start your journey. The beginning part is really tough because you're not just working on the idea. Even if you're a tech person and just making an app yourself, oh man, the business side, the legal side, especially the legal side of structuring your company with your founders, the agreements, that's so overlooked. And there's so many times that they didn't have the correct agreements and 2 months later it's over because they didn't have the correct agreements. That's another thing that's hugely important is having the right agreements and something called vesting. You need a vesting schedule. I don't have enough time to explain it here, but you better look it up. You better look up what vesting is with founders and with advisors and with employees because that's super important. But yeah, one of the main challenges I would think right now is that it is really saturated and it's really highly competitive in Korea. And it's just the nature of Koreans in general.
So do you think a lot of Korean startups, they stay in Korea too long where they should globally expand instead?
100%, yeah.
You found that,
Yeah, because I think, again, you could make it here, but it's a lot of hard work. And not that I'm saying we want to put in the hard work, but it's so much more opportunity for us in Indonesia, and it's so much easier. We can stay here and fight the fight, but we'll never make a lot of money here. I know we won't make a lot of money unless we get millions of dollars handed to us to fight the competitive fight. But yeah, especially Southeast Asia. Again, there are a lot of startups now starting to go to Southeast Asia from Korea, but it's still wide open for now.
Well, why aren't they succeeding in Southeast Asia? I haven't heard very many success stories of Korean startups.
Yeah, it's early and also because they don't have the right partners. I'm so lucky because my co-founder is Indonesian. He knows the market. He's connected. If I was doing this with somebody that's not Indonesian, it would be a lot tougher. I'm sure I'm pretty confident we could still do it and make a network there. But yeah, you need the right partner over there for Southeast Asia, and you need someone that knows the market. Because some people I have talked to from Korea have gone to Indonesia and they've exited. They come out. Not exited. They've left, or they're still having a tough time because they don't have the right local partner. And it's different if you hire a manager. They're not a part of your company. They don't have equity in your company. They're not a co-founder. It's totally different. So having a co-founder or somebody that's really invested in your company as a partner, that's a local, it's huge.
Yeah, so you really recommend in your team to have some foreigners in it, right? I think that's another problem that Korean startups have, is that they're homogeneous.
Yes.
They don't have the language skills.
Yes. Yeah, and
can't expand.
Yeah, and also, and not just that, but even if you're a company here in Korea, to have that diversity in your company as a startup, to have women, foreigners, it's just a complete different thinking. So everyone's going to think completely differently. So to have this diversity within your team, you'll get feedback and you'll hear stuff from things that you have never thought of. That's hugely valuable. So just to have that diversity, just as a company here in Korea, it's huge because they'll be thinking different things and they'll see things that you haven't. So, my interns, one of the things for us as a company, we're very Western management. So when we were hiring our first Korean employee, one of the first things I asked was, as the CEO, if I did something that you thought was wrong, what would you do, right? And some people I interviewed said, you're the CEO, I do what you do. I do what you say, right? That's not what I want. Right? I was waiting for that person to say, I would tell you that I think you're wrong. And that's what I need, and that's what everyone needs, because you're not always right. I don't care how smart you are, my interns too, I include my interns, we include interns in our weekly calls. I ask my interns, hey, what do you think? They're interns, but I want to know what they think, because they're could totally be thinking something that we're not thinking of, and it's happened. So you really need to include everyone and have a diverse team so that you can hear everyone and listen to everyone. I want to be right as a CEO all the time, but I'm not. And my intern has proved me wrong too. So, yeah.
Which brings me to the next question. Do you have any internships at your company?
Right now we can't pay for internships, but we always take interns.
You'll always take them.
Yeah,
Okay.
most of the time if it's a need we have. If we raise money, we can probably pay for interns, but we're still in the process of raising.
Yeah.
But we've had probably 5 or 6 interns in the last year,
Yeah.
and luckily
How did that work out?
for us, it was great. We've had some really good interns, and one intern we did pay, but it was a very small stipend because we couldn't afford much. But when we raised money, we'd be able to pay interns. But yeah, right now we do take interns. Yeah, for marketing, actually our interns, they work on a lot for development too, tech side. Our interns have done a lot of good work and have learned a lot from us too.
So I think we have some potential entrepreneurs in our class. I don't know, I haven't met any of our students, or maybe some of them may be my former students. But what does it take? I mean, how should you prepare if you would like to become a founder of a startup? How did you prepare? I mean, what would you suggest to our student body in class how to create a startup or to prepare for it?
It definitely takes a certain personality to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
Not everyone can. I don't think everyone can be an entrepreneur, but I mean, actually, you can. Even if you don't have the personality, you find that co-founder that has that personality, and you're a co-founder. But I'll tell you, it takes a lot of work. I don't want to scare you guys, but like I'm literally working 24 hours a day, but it doesn't feel like work. It totally doesn't feel like work. So literally when I dream about work. I dream about things. It just happens. So I'm working in my dreams too. But and these days I work more than I did in the past because we're about to launch. But again, it doesn't feel like work, right? Because you're doing something that you really want to do. So that's totally different than working at a 9-to-5 job. Even if you're getting paid a lot of money, if you don't like it, you don't have that passion. So it's a lot of work, but it's fun work. But another thing is you have to take a break. You have to get your sleep. Like Elon Musk says he sleeps 2-3 hours a day. I totally don't agree with that, and a lot of startup founders I talk to don't agree with that because how are you going to function on 2-3 hours of sleep a day at your best? You can't be at your best, and you have to delegate too. You have to delegate your work to other people. So I always get at least 7, 8, 9 hours of sleep every day, almost every day. I get my sleep, because it's super important. And I take naps too. I take naps, not every day, but I take naps maybe 3 times a week during the day. I'll take a half-hour nap or hour nap because I'm just so much more sharp. So I'll totally do that and take a mental break. There's this thing called, startup founder depression, and almost every founder goes through that down, and you have to get out of it. But you also have to make time for play or for yourself, or else you're gonna get burnt out. And I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years now straight, and I haven't taken many vacations. But I do take breaks, and I get my sleep. Yeah, for sure.
What do you think are some of the problems that foreigners have here? You're one of the more successful startups here in Korea. What are some of the problems? We talked about Koreans having problems in other countries with their startups.
Yeah.
What are the biggest problems here, you think? Foreign startups. You've known a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we know somebody mutual, of course, Shuttle's doing a very good job.
Yeah, they're good friends of mine, yeah.
And you're doing well,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Well, we would not revenue-wise, but we're definitely
but you're
getting
doing well.
we're definitely getting to where we need to.
Okay,
Yeah.
Yeah, you hit some milestones.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so what is it? What are some of the problems here?
I think one of the biggest things is culture.
Yeah.
Business culture here in Korea. Luckily for myself, I'm able to speak Korean pretty well, not native, but pretty well. But still, the culture end I learned here. I mean, I've heard about the culture, and I've done business with Korea, doing exporting from over the years, and I've dealt with Korean, especially to Korean older businessmen.
Yes.
that are, it's not easy to deal with here, especially, one of the things is I had a lot of experience in America. When I first moved to Korea, I originally moved to get more importers and buyers. I was meeting these importers of food companies here in Korea. They're in their 60s. And at the time, I was in my mid-30s. And I looked younger than my mid-30s. So when I had these meetings with them, they would never take me seriously. So it was really difficult. And in the startup world too, it's different, especially with foreigners. If you don't understand that business culture here, and some of these and some of the startup founders, they just got here, they don't know the culture, or they've lived here but stayed amongst foreigners and didn't do business with the Korean business people. It's totally different mindset. There's a lot of indirectness, a lot of beating around the bush, and it's hard to read. So a lot of startup founders have that to deal with, and also it's a little different where startups in the States, there's a lot of co-worker spaces and stuff like that. There's a lot of collaboration. One of the things is difficult to collaborate with some of the other native Korean startup founders because of the competitive nature they grew up in.
Sure.
So it's maybe like, oh, what does this person want from me, or are they trying to compete with me? So that's different. That's difficult to do. Is kind of difficult to do collaborations. I mean, not that there are some that want to do it, but overall, it's that's another tough part. So it's really the culture is probably getting used to that culture as a foreigner is one of the most difficult things to get adjusted to.
Okay.
And some of the things is you can't change it.
No, you can't.
You can't. You got to play with it or work with it, and then just find a way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, culture is not changing anytime soon, despite globalization. Yeah. Okay. Well, let me just conclude with that. And I want to thank Lin very much for coming, and it was an excellent and eloquent presentation, so let's all give him a hand.
Thank you. Be glad to do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Hopefully in front of a live audience.
Next
We're going to take
semester,
questions.
I
Yeah.
hope so
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.